Your burning questions concerning health.
Trinidad and Tobago is among one of the highest risk group of patients that develop this form of genetic breast cancer.
What I'd like to take home from a short interview like this is screening. You must screen.
Because it's silent.
It's silent.
Yeah.
And because it's silent, you don't know it's there.
What's Up, Doc? Every Tuesday and Thursday on WESN, Content Capital.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God. So we kind of have to stalemate.
You'll focus on the woman who's being the victim,
right,
or the man is being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI. Worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
You are watching Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Just give an overview of what exactly is that split arrangement.
Nah, you don't need to register nothing. You don't need, we can do that another time. But then it becomes a hit, and then everybody starts to want to claim.
The laws that predate many of the independent countries' constitutions are going to be those colonial laws.
We know there are an infinite amount of circumstances that would lead to a murder.
I have a great idea and, I have a great concept, but until it's actually expressed, it does not become intellectual property.
Accomplishments or targets of a forensic accountant is to quantify what may have been lost.
We believe we defend criminals and we manipulated the law and we exploited the system.
A responsible journalist will reach out to the person who they have the information on for a comment.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really want
to me. Respond to me how you would respond to me.
The first question I would ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say, we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
Knowing how to tell authentic is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Find it, match it, search it. Step 1. Find the style number on the tag. Step 2. Match the style number inside the jersey with the number on the tag. Step 3. Search it. A quick Google search of the style number will verify the jersey is authentic when the search results match the jersey being searched. Don't be fooled by counterfeit jerseys. Before you buy, remember to find it, match it, search it.
Fan Zone, 2 locations nationwide. Center City Mall, Chaguanas and Movietown, Port of Spain. Nationwide delivery available.
Between the Bank and the Gutter, a novel about street dwellers in Port of Spain. This is a book to make you both laugh and cry. Above all, it takes you to that special space that only street dwellers know. In this moving and riveting human interest story, Harry journeys from insanity to sanity while living on the streets of Port of Spain. Now available at Metropolitan Books, 12 Aripita Avenue, Woodbrook. Paper-based bookshop, 14 Alcazar Street, Woodbrook. WESN, 30A Gattaca Street, Woodbrook. And the home store branches located at Barataria, Chaguanas, and East Gates Mall. Autographed copies now available on request. Also available from author Louis Lee Singh. I Used to Live in Heaven, Letters to My Granddaughters, Local Government in Trinidad, Conspiracy Against the People, and Closer to the Church.
WESN.
And I'm Jada McLeod.
Thank you for joining us this morning. As elections approach, the conversation around youth participation in democracy is more important than ever. With young people making up a significant position of the portion of the population, their voices have the power to shape the future. But what is stopping some from engaging in the electoral process? And how can we encourage more youth to take an active role in shaping their country's future? Joining us this morning is Ms. Terry-Ann Baker. She's a parliamentary research specialist and national youth advocate to discuss the importance of youth participation in the electoral process. Why should young people vote? And how can they become more engaged in national decision making? Good morning, Ms. Baker.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. It's a pleasure to have you on. So my first question is pretty elementary. A lot of youth view politics as boring, yet we've had and are continuing to see countless conversations on why voting is important, voter participation is important. So just to set the stage, why is it crucial for young people to participate in the electoral process?
Okay, well, thanks again so much for having me on. And I am a former parliamentary research specialist, but just to start at the very fundamental level, voting, the process of democracy is one where the citizenry has to play an active role in choosing their leadership. So as for young people, unless young people are made aware of the importance of that role at the very foundational level, you're going to see more and more young people not showing interest in the electoral process. And the reason why it's important and why that has to change in order for us to really exercise or exercise democracy within society, is that young people represent a sector of society that we would deem the working class. And because so much young people occupy this particular sector, the policies that are implemented by the government that is chosen through our electoral process would impact the working class more significantly than other sectors in some cases, based on what the policy is. And so as young people that are active contributors to society, and as young people who are the shapers of not just today, but of tomorrow, participating in the electoral process is crucial so that they can have a say in who would represent Trinidad and Tobago and who would represent their interests on a national level. So fundamentally, that's why it's important for young people to be a part of the electoral process.
Ms. Baker, what are some of the biggest misconceptions that young people would have about voting or the electoral process?
Okay, great question. Well, for a lot of young people, they don't recognize the importance of that one vote. If we look at statistics from years ago, even for local government elections, you would see instances where you have older persons, people who have been voting for more years than I've been born, coming out in their numbers to show support for whatever political party they support. Now, for young people not seeing the history of a political party and just seeing what's being presented in front of them now by the two options that we have in front of us right now, young people may not be aware or may not recognize the significance of their vote, understanding that the compilation of all of these votes would determine who our next leader would be. So this brings in the question, why is it important for me as a young person to participate in the electoral process? It is important for me as a young person to participate in the electoral process, one, because of how it impacts me. The leadership of today shapes the future of youth tomorrow. So therefore, if young people do not recognize that if they sit aside and don't participate in the electoral process today, then what their future looks like, they don't participate in shaping that. Therefore, the more and more distant young people are from shaping their own futures, it's the more that they give away or they give license to politicians, leaders, and the like to shape that for them. And how are you better placed to determine who can seek your interest by participating in the process? So this is where you're able to hold people accountable for, hold the leaders you voted in Surrey accountable for their actions because you've participated in the process and you expect a certain standard and delivery of service. So again, young people again representing such a wide class as I mentioned before. If you are not participating in the process, you release the reins of being able to decide who can lead you. So that's just fundamentally as well.
So, I mean, you would have mentioned the young people probably not being educated enough on understanding the electoral process. So how important do you think is political education, and do you think that enough is being done to prepare young voters?
Okay. All right. So in terms of, I'll start with the latter part of the question first, in terms of preparing young voters to vote or participate in the electoral process. Now, and if there's reliance on any government entity to encourage people to vote, know that that may or may not come with an agenda. The reason I'm saying that is the responsibility to participate in the electoral process is one way. You have to take responsibility as well. So in other words, you know as a young person, you are 18, you're eligible to vote. At some point in time, you have to play an active role as well in seeking out information as to what that process entails, seeking out information as to, what impact will my vote have on my future and the wider society. So that's one. That's where you take your own personal responsibility. Now, where the state comes in is where, like example, we have social studies in school. Social studies is supposed to give us a foundation or an overview of how our democratic process works and how society works on the whole, right? That is what it's supposed to provide us with. That's a preliminary introduction, I should say, right? When that happens, there's supposed to be follow-up. In other words, if we want our citizens to play an active role in democracy, then I don't want to say that people have to be bombarded, but people have to be bombarded with the information on the importance of their participation. So if more and more young people have to be made aware of why it is important to vote and what the entire process even entails from start to finish, then it means that information should be flooded on the streams that young people frequent. So for example, on social media, especially with upcoming elections, there should be ads, there should be short videos, there should be everywhere around you, should bombard you so that you understand the importance of the role that you have to play in the upcoming election. Now, going back down to the fundamentals as to what the electoral process would entail. Okay, so let's break that down just a little bit. So when a young person now is eligible to vote and the candidates are presented to the community, to the constituency, and you have to make the decision on the day of the election. Understanding the weight of that decision is where it all starts. Why, the why is really that is really what's going to encourage young people to come forward. Why should I take time off to vote? Why am I voting for this person? What are they going to do for me? So in terms of what should young people be made aware of is the roles and responsibilities of your MP, of your councillor, and why you should determine who that is. Because at the end of the day, young people continue to feel like the leaders are so far removed from their lives, and because they are so far removed from their lives, they can't connect the dots and see that there's any benefit for me as a young person. So why should I come out to vote if I don't see the immediate benefits? And therein comes in the clarity that should be provided. Even now, we are quote unquote months away from the election. We don't know when it's going to be. But that information should be flooded. What is the role of the MP? Why is it important for you to vote? How does your vote impact your direct life? If there's more information on that, that is where young people would begin to see the direct linkage between their participation and the positive impact on their lives.
So on that, how do
I answer the question?
Yes, it did. How do we sort of mend a relationship or even build a relationship between, say, the MP for a constituency and the youth? Is it on the local government's shoulders to sort of build some kind of relationship, reach out to the youth in where they may be?
Okay, thanks so much for the question. Okay, so two things I'll break down really quickly. So just explaining the difference between local government and local government elections and general elections, right? So local government elections, this is where you're choosing the councillor for the area. Now the councillor is who would be liaising with your regional corporation to assist with drainage, roadworks. That is the sphere that local government operates within. For general elections, this is where you're choosing your member of parliament to represent your constituency in parliament, to bring the views, the issues, to highlight any policy that should be amended that would better serve the constituents for that particular MP's area. Now, for this upcoming general election, in terms of bridging that information gap, it starts there, understanding the role and responsibility of the MP. Now, at the beginning, I said that young people also have a role in terms of taking personal responsibility, because we have a lot of access and we have to tap into the access that we have been afforded. However, if you have to bridge the gap between MPs and young people, or councillors and young people, then what I would say may be a necessary step would be, outside of just general election time and outside of creating a youth arm for a particular political party, because that does exist, perhaps with the party groups in the area, you should arrange to have a meeting of the minds with young people. So in other words, let's say you call it conversations with the youth, or conversations with your constituents, whatever you would like to coin that interaction as. Like, there's a responsibility as well, not just for people to come to the MP's office to ask for assistance or guidance or whatever the case may be. There's also an active role that MPs should play to engage their constituents. Yes. And there's so many ways in this day and age to be creative to do that. And so if more and more MPs are not looking towards maybe implementing some sort of virtual communication, maybe every Monday or once a month, let's make it realistic. Maybe once a month, you do a Zoom call where you do an update as to what you'd like to see accomplished for the community, how young people can play a part. We'd like to partner with NGOs in the area or any people that would like to serve, like that. That is how you involved in the process, and that's how you get.
Apologies, Terry, we just had a little bit of a technical issue. But I would want to continue. Are you hearing us properly? All right.
Okay. Ms. Baker?
Yeah.
All right. So I just want to, beyond voting, right, Are there any, or well, in what ways can young people engage in a democratic process, if any, if there are any other ways?
Okay, so at the parliament itself, outside of just the general elections, there's something that we would call parliamentary oversight, right? And parliamentary oversight is basically where the Joint Select Committee system, and what that is, it's almost like smaller groups of parliamentarians and parliamentary staff that make up a committee that seeks to examine public entities, right? Now, those public entities are called, some are standing committees, some are not, but we don't have time to go into the difference right now. But essentially, what those committees aim to do is to hold state agencies or entities accountable. So each committee has a mandate that will cover a particular sector or various sectors. Now, in the pursuit of the inquiry or the examination of a public entity, so for example, let's say we're talking about PTSD, and the Joint Select Committee wants to look at the efficiency of the PTSD, for example, right? Usually during that process, and all of this is public, by the way, the inquiry is more than likely public unless it's a pretty sensitive matter. So all of this is available for everyone to look at in real time when it's occurring, to hear the questions that MPs are asking to the directors of a state entity. So how can young people get involved in the democratic process? So there's a portion of that process where sometimes committees may have a call for public submissions. Now that call for public submissions is open to everyone. What it is basically asking the public to give their views, to give their comments, to ask questions related to a particular inquiry. So let's say we're talking about PTSD. You are a change maker in your community. You are aware that this is something that once improved would really positively impact your community. Therefore, if you are in the know and you are aware of that call for public submissions, what you can do is you can submit a letter or make a submission based on what they're asking you for. And through that submission, you can express your views to parliamentarians directly that serve on that committee. Because what I mentioned before is that these Joint Select Committees are made up of smaller groups of parliamentarians from both houses, both Senate and the House, or the upper house and lower house in layman terms. And so when you present that information to the committee, it is then examined and it is considered by the members of parliament, and further questions can come out of your submission. For example, if the submission is, we would like the public's view on the efficiency of public transportation in their area with a specific focus on PTSD, right? Let's say that's the inquiry. Inquiry meaning that's what they're looking into, right? If that is the topic, if you will understand that the PTSD system is such a benefit to your society, to your community, and you don't see the buses coming often, you could state, well, based on ABC in my community, you recognize the importance of having access to the PTSD system, and therefore you've been impacted in ABC way. By doing that, not only have you informed directly the group of people who will now question the PTSD, but you can then call out things that you've recognized in your submission and ask the committee to give consideration to finding out about it. And I don't mean anything outlandish. I just mean a simple thing like, perhaps could the committee follow up on increasing buses in the area of Moruga, for example. Perhaps when the committee considers it, they can frame a question during their public inquiry to ask the PTSD directly or in writing, what is being done to enhance or increase, the fleet assigned to Moruga. Another way as well is also to do something similar where you engage your MP directly. You can write a letter highlighting your issues and you can ask your MP to give you guidance on whether or not there are existing policies that can remedy your issue, or if not, if your MP can raise this in Parliament so that you can get relief as a constituent. You can also directly engage with the MP. Also, during the same Joint Select Committee inquiry that I mentioned earlier, on YouTube, where it is streamed live when it's taking place, usually they ask for the public to submit questions in real time. So if you are looking at the inquiry, you can ask the committee to ask your question to the directors and managers of the state entity that is being examined. That is another way that you can exercise your democracy, because democracy essentially speaks to being held to account and everyone playing a part in deciding their leadership. And that leadership has to be accountable to the citizenry. So not to go on and belabor the point, but essentially the Joint Select Committee system is one way, interacting online on YouTube when the public inquiry is taking place is another way, engaging with your MPs is a third way, and also a fourth way would be if you are really in tune or if you make yourself knowledgeable about the Joint Select Committee system. As a young person, there is nothing wrong with writing a request to the committee and asking if they would give consideration to maybe looking at ABC. No, that is not a given. It's not that you writing this would mean automatically it goes on the agenda. But you are a citizen, and why can't you write to the committee and ask them, for example, to look at maybe examining traffic? And if they haven't examined traffic, and if they have examined traffic, maybe they would guide you to the research that already exists.
Okay.
But it doesn't take away your ability to engage with the office. So those are just some of the ways that you can exercise your own democracy, as well as letters to the editor as well. You can also boldly and publicly state your opinion as a young person and call certain things out. Now, of course, you need to be careful. You need to have your facts right and all of that. But that's also something that can take place.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Baker.
Thank you for what you've been answering so far. I just wanted to ask a quick question just to kind of wrap up the interview. Why youth? Why have you decided to dedicate your life to youth advocacy?
It seems that I have some technical difficulties on my end. Sorry for that. Could you repeat the question for me?
Sure, no problem. I was asking why youth? Why have you decided to dedicate your life or dedicate your work to youth advocacy?
Okay, so I mean, just a bit of background on me. I am from Mobile, Laventil, and I have seen my fair share of a community where when a social concept is created about it, there are policies and behaviors that tend to match that perception, right? So coming from Mobile Laventil, there's still an existing stigma that comes with the area. And me being blessed enough, and I thank God for it, but being blessed enough to be able to be afforded the opportunities that I have, it allowed me to see the world outside of just my community. And that made such a difference in my life that I felt as though young people that have capped their potential or who have stopped their potential because of their circumstances around them, I want to be able to say, I am able to relate to you. I have experienced a lot of the things that you are going through right now. You need to know that this is not the be-all and end-all of your life. Your potential is even more than your mind can comprehend. And that was the starting point of the passion for me, because I experienced hardship in my life. And because I've been able to come out of that hardship and to see success in so many areas, I have dedicated a good portion of my life to giving back to young people so that they feel empowered to do the same. And as I said, there's a stigma of Mobile Laventil that exists even now, even with the new signage that went up. I mean, whether you like it or whether you don't like it, it's development for the area. But that's a perfect example with people in the comments talking about why should that sign go up? Why should the area be developed? XYZ.
Why not?
You see, again, coming from that area, your life should not be limited as a young person in terms of what your dreams can be. Why should your life be stunted just because of where you are from? And even if you decide to excel and be great in different ways, the issue comes out that if you are academically inclined, you may not be able to put where you're from on your resume. So I have dedicated my life to trying to dispel that stigma, because I always proudly represent that I am from Mobile Laventil everywhere I go. And I would like to say that it doesn't matter where you come from, you as a young person, you are able to succeed. So it really is coming from my personal experience And my desire to see more and more young people elevate their lives, elevate their mindsets, and contribute positively to society.
All right.
That's where it stemmed from.
Lovely. Ms. Baker, before we go, what advice would you give to a young person who feels disconnected or disinterested in politics?
The advice I would give to a young person that feels disconnected from politics is politics is never an emotional thing, right? If we start to recognize that more and more, not just as young people, but just as a society, politics is not an emotional thing, right? Even if you feel disenchanted with what's being presented in front of you, if you look at the history of why we are even able to vote, why democracy is now the system of governance that we operate under, then you wouldn't take lightly the opportunity that you have. In other words, what I'm saying is, would you be okay with this particular opportunity to contribute to the electoral process being taken away from you? Would you feel content with not being able to have a choice? So in other words, you have a choice now, and whether or not you decide that either option, your perception. But the whole point is you exercise the right because people fought to afford it to you. You exercise the right whether or not you choose to do whatever with your ballot. You exercise the right because at some point in history, there are people that were not able to. The system of governance that we were previously under, you were not allowed to vote. So I'm just saying, you know, there's a lot of historical gaps that a lot of young people have in their minds. They look at today and they look at the freedoms that are afforded to them and they say, okay, well, I don't like how this is. I am disenchanted. I'm not going to participate. I understand that I am a young person too. However, when you look at history and recognize that I am actually a part of a society where I can have a say in who my leader should be. And just remember that if you don't have a say, you have now subjected yourself to whatever everyone else says.
Yes.
And as a young person, you need to recognize that more and more you need to let your voices be heard. More and more you need to be at the forefront because, again, the future is not for them. It's our future. It's our present, yes, but decisions made today will impact our future. So I would encourage young people to think outside of just the current circumstance in front of them, but have a forward-thinking mindset. Think about who really is best positioned to drive change and cause and produce and encourage productivity in society. Sorry. And I would encourage young people, you need to come out and you need to, sorry, last point. I would encourage.
Terry on? Okay. It seems that we may have lost Ms. Baker, but we do thoroughly thank her for her contributions and what she would have shared. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with our next guest and our next dynamic discussion. Thank you.
My name is Dr. Stephen Carroll, the CEO at Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist, and we are committed to making good private health care affordable.
For all your medical needs, including dental, radiology, laparoscopy, behavioral and mental health, along with many other services, contact us for more information at 235-5479.
Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
This is Face of Sports, WESN Content Capital. How you felt about the kiss on the lip?
That's the business. I'm not to do with that.
I find that was distasteful.
The national senior team, whether you like it or not, that is the model for all other teams to follow.
I'm assuming that the regional requirement may be a much stricter requirement.
This is not about Pro League and Super League. This is a league run by the Normalization Committee that I'm responsible for.
Nobody expected FIFA to fund this arrangement.
If we don't get a professional attitude towards this, we are doomed for failure.
You break a balance, trip the leg, control the body.
They ain't gonna stand put forever.
Why you want the Chiefs to lose so? Why you want the Chiefs to lose so?
They already have two. Lamar don't
Why?
have.
You're jealous because you know the Chiefs getting closer to the Patriots. Let's go to the last part.
No,
of the
not no.
Let's go to the last part.
Maybe he landed here totally by coincidence. But if by chance he's admiring your fresh coat of Benjamin Moore soft sky blue, well, that's a pretty high compliment. Coming from an expert.
Money is something we all deal with, but how many of us truly understand it? What if you could make better decisions with your money? Decisions that secure your future, protect your family, and bring you peace of mind. I'm Darren Jacobs, and I'm here to help you make sense of your dollars. Welcome to Dollars and Cents, the show that breaks down the financial world in ways that matter to you. No jargon, no confusion, just real conversations about money, your money. So join me every Wednesday at 10 a.m. on WESN for Dollars and Cents.
Pastor J, I want to get a tattoo.
You really
respond
want
to me. Respond to me. How you would respond to me?
The first question I'd ask is why?
Controversial taboo topics.
We get so consumed by church, we forget that we have to live the life of being a Christian outside of the Sunday.
Like you say,
services.
we think going to a service makes us a Christian.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right. So here we are about to hear the second time Pastor J wanted to take a tattoo.
Would have been late last year and early this year.
Oh gosh.
Hope Unfiltered podcast with Pastor J and Ren.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
We are tackling the hard-hitting topics, some controversial topics, some topics we sweep under the rug. You don't always have to forgive in a relationship for it to move forward.
If it is you are in a situation where you forgive the person, but to the detriment of yourself, what are you really doing?
It is very uncommon for somebody in the younger age group to have dementia.
Atheists don't not believe.
Is that I can't disprove God, but you also can't prove God. So we cannot have a stalemate.
We'll focus on the woman who's being the victim, or the man who's being the victim. We exclude the children.
Folks are trying to study the underlying brain mechanism to figure out how does this particular disorder happen in the brain? How is the brain processing this?
Don't worry about AI. Worry about humans working with AI.
Are you willing to learn new skills to stay relevant for the future job market? That's the challenge that people are going to struggle with.
Simon's Musical Supplies Limited. We are the specialist in new and used musical instruments, carrying top brands like Yamaha, Pearl River pianos, vinyl and Sabian cymbals, Remo and Evans drumheads and Fender guitars, just to name a few. Also a wide assortment of music books, pan and accessories. At Simon's, we service what we sell. Trust the leader. Call us now at 625-6412 or visit us at 20 Board Street, Port of Spain.
And our next guest joining us this morning is Karen Rose. Karen Rose has made a name for himself in the digital space, helping Caribbean entrepreneurs embrace technology and build strong online businesses. But in a bold move, he recently, or a couple months ago, left Trinidad and Tobago for Thailand, starting a new chapter in both his personal and professional life. What led to this big decision has and how has life been since you moved? And we're going to talk a little bit about the digital world evolving rapidly, especially with AI reshaping business. Good morning, Mr. Rose, and welcome to the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Of course. I hope, I don't know the time difference from here in Thailand.
It's not too late or too early.
Yeah.
No. It's I'm 11 hours ahead, so it's actually 5:48 p.m. right now.
Oh, so we're chilling. Okay, good.
Yay! I'm now getting ready to go to the gym, so this is perfect time.
Great. So, Mr. Rose, moving from Trinidad to Thailand, that's a major shift, right? Just to give our viewers a little context, what sparked that decision, and what has that transition been like for you thus far?
Well, thankfully, this is the third country I've lived in. So for those who don't know me or never heard of my story, born in Trinidad and Tobago, we left when I was just a couple of months old. So pretty much my entire life, I lived in Toronto, Canada. So I was there from a baby to about my 28th birthday. And then I moved to Trinidad, where I spent, some amazing years. I was there for the last 10 years. And right before my 38th birthday, I made the move over to Thailand. And the shift to make the move came down to a couple of things. I think the biggest one, and I mean, I've talked about this, but the biggest one was the situation with foreign exchange. As I'm a business owner and trying to build a business, trying to build and grow something in the confines with all the restrictions when it comes to foreign exchange, it's getting to a point where, as we know, there are a lot of businesses closing down. A lot of the bigger businesses like the Macy's of the world are starting, and the Answer McCalls are starting to set up businesses in other countries so that they can start to generate their own foreign exchange. And for many years, I have been building this online business where I had clients all over the world. So I was, getting clients, was able to generate my own foreign exchange, but the limitations were getting to be a lot. And I thought it would be a perfect time, as I'm in the tech space as well, this would be a perfect time to now go out, come out to Asia, come out to the place where they're pretty much inventing everything, and spend some time here, soak in as much information as I can. And I mean, everything I do is still Caribbean centric. All the clients I mainly work with are in the Caribbean, the workshops, radio, TV, everything I do is still in the Caribbean. So everything I'm soaking up in Asia, I am disseminating that information back into the Caribbean region.
If you can kind of give us like a sort of rundown, like a summary of what exactly you do or you offer to your clients, what would that be?
Yeah, so I wear a couple of hats. The main one is I'm a digital strategist. So I work with Caribbean businesses and entrepreneurs around the region and the diaspora to take their business online. I help them with their digital marketing, also setting up e-commerce if they're looking to sell products or services. I am the guy that would come in and either consult on the payment mechanisms that you would need, or I would get booked to build out the payment infrastructure for the organizations as well. I'm also an educator, so I am a lecturer at Arthur Lockjack. I am a program advisor for digital marketing for the University of South Florida. So I have my teacher's hat on, and then I'm also in media on TV, radio, and I'm a columnist in both Trinidad and also in Jamaica. And everything is about teaching people how to navigate the digital world and just trying to give them the tools and the information so that they themselves can participate in not just the local economy, but the global economy.
Okay.
I just want to, before we move on from that conversation about you moving to Thailand, what are some of the biggest misconceptions you had about moving to Thailand? And then once you got there, if anything surprised you with the culture change, or were there any culture shocks to you?
I think the biggest misconception is that a lot of times when we hear about countries living in the Western side, so living in the Caribbean, living in Canada, living in North America, whenever we hear about a lot of these countries in the West, we tend to think they're poor or they're just not advanced. And coming out to Thailand, this place is more advanced than Toronto. This is more advanced than New York. Their efficiency, their ease of doing everything is just on a completely different level. I mean, I try to share as much as I can on my stories, just showing people the cost of living. Like my fixed expenses are less than $1,000 US. That's all of my expenses. That's rent, that's groceries, that's electricity, that's cell phone, less than $1,000. And I'm living in a condo with 40 plus floors, 2 swimming pools, 2 gyms, like everything you could possibly think of in a condo, I have it. And my rent is less than 600 US. I pay about 560 US in rent for my condo. That's unheard of.
Yeah.
So, you know, seeing it when you're looking at all these people online sharing about how affordable their lifestyle is living in Asia, seeing it online and then coming here and seeing it for yourself, listen, you really don't need a lot to have an amazing quality of life. And that to me was the biggest shocker.
Right. On that note, I mean, how does the digital ecosystem there in Thailand compare to the Caribbean or any other part of the world that you've lived in?
I wouldn't put it on I wouldn't compare the Caribbean because the Caribbean is still new. Like we're still building the ecosystem in the Caribbean, right? And a big part of my role now is, like I said earlier, is soaking up as much information as I can here. That way I can seed that back into the Caribbean. So we're still building it. How is it overall? Like, I mean, even in Canada, coming from Canada, this is an upgrade. Coming from Canada, this is an upgrade. So I don't have to, like, I actually have to find reasons to go outside now because all of my groceries are done. I could order all of my groceries from my phone. I could order all of my fruits, fresh produce, everything is within an app. I can order everything from my phone. I don't really walk outside with my wallet. Every single thing that I do is on my phone. All of my cards, all of my bank cards, everything is on my phone. So I literally only need my phone to just walk outside and just tap my phone everywhere I go. Cash is still prevalent here, but when people have options, they opt to use any of the digital payment tools that are available. And I mean, just to give you an example, we have a vending machine downstairs that does coffees, teas, and sodas and some other drinks. And that vending machine accepts over 20 different forms of payments.
Wow. 20, don't think I could even think past like 6.
Yeah.
Isn't it 20 forms?
The point is, right, the reason why there's 20 is because the way that Asia works is how CARICOM should be working. They don't think of it. So what they do is they look at all the countries, especially within the region called ASEAN, the Southeast Asia group that is like our CARICOM. They look at how do we make commerce easy and how do we make traveling easy? So you can travel as cheaply as you want because there's bus, there's train, there's plane, and it's cheap to get across to many countries from here. But then when you come to these, when you're traveling around the region, they want to simplify commerce. So they don't want you to have to download a new application. They don't want you to have to go into a bank to withdraw cash. They want that all of their payment tools across all of Asia, they want all Asian countries for it to work in. So somebody just has to get off a plane and things just switch over within the app. Like the countries change over in most of the applications. So you don't have to even re-download another app. Like when I went to Vietnam the other day, I didn't have to download a new grocery app. I didn't have to download a new ride sharing app. It's throughout all the countries. So it just automatically switches over and you just right into making your purchases and whatnot. So they've really built an amazing ecosystem here. And it's definitely better than almost all Western countries because it's not just one country. All their applications, their main ones, work throughout a multitude of countries. And that's the strength of Asia. And I think that's a big lesson that CARICOM could learn.
Definitely learn from. So I wanted to ask, just to bring the conversation a little bit closer to home. Trinidad usually or largely has shops that are more brick and mortar. What opportunities are there for businesses that are looking to go digital?
All the opportunities in the world. Like, how many businesses do you shop on online in Trinidad?
Quite a couple.
there's a couple. There's not a whole lot. So I think one of the biggest things is getting businesses to see that they can generate more revenue by building an online presence, getting an e-commerce ready website, because in the Caribbean, not just Trinidad, we don't have any of the e-commerce tools on social media. So if you're living in the US or some other countries, you don't have to have a website because Facebook has Facebook Shop and you can check out on Facebook. You can check out on Instagram. You can check out on TikTok in other countries. We don't have those things in the Caribbean, which is okay, cool, no problem. But then businesses then need to either, one, have their own e-commerce ready website so that when everybody sees your content on social media, they should be able to just go and shop with your business whatever time of the day that they want, right? Or if you don't have a website, you need to get on a platform like a Food Drop. Food Drop has opened up their marketplace to more than just food businesses. So now you can sell all of your products on Food Drop, and you have access to getting the payment tools, and also you have the network of delivery drivers, right? So we really don't have the excuses anymore that, you know, we shouldn't be online or we can't be online. We have every single tool that we need to. We just need to get businesses moving online, but you know, that's a slow and steady race that we're still trying to win.
Mr. Rose, I'm just going back a little bit. So you said the Caribbean, I mean, we're still kind of doing a catch-up, or we still have to do a catch-up in the digital space, right? So in your opinion, or from your knowledge, what are some of the key steps that we here in the Caribbean can take to get there, or to get to that point where we're up to date, more or less, with everyone else around the world?
So the big thing is it's got to be a top-down approach from the government all the way down, right? And I think one of our biggest challenges in Trinidad is that there is such a lack of trust in the government and also our financial institutions, so that even the tools that we do have available for you to bring your business online and for you to sell your products to anybody across the world, because I've been doing that in Trinidad since 2017, we have the tools, but there is such a lack of trust in government and in our financial institutions that the average person is like, I don't trust them to want to have my money flowing through them. I'd rather just have, rather just take cash. And I think that's our biggest hurdle. Like when you talk to most businesses as to why they don't have a website, it's really because they don't trust the banks, they don't trust the government. The second biggest hurdle is people don't want to pay taxes. So they think digital means they have to pay taxes. It means that being digital means that there's now a paper trail for the money coming in, which could eventually lead to you having to pay taxes. Those are two of our biggest hurdles that, you know, again, it's not the technology. We actually don't have a technology problem in Trinidad. We have people problems. So one, the government's got to do a better job at establishing trust and letting people know that, hey, these are things that you can trust, that they're not going to fail you in your time of need. And then two, and I don't have the solution to this, but you know, how do we get people, you know, jumping on board and being okay with paying taxes?
I hear you. Tell me, let's get into the conversation of AI. How has AI, because I'm sure it has transformed the digital e-commerce industry?
Well, it's impacted it in every which way, shape, or possible.
Yeah, I bet.
I mean, there's so many ways to kind of go about that. So even in just something as simple as helping you write your emails. If you have Google Gemini Pro right? That is integrated into all of your Google services. And now you don't even need to write your own emails. So if you're somebody who struggles with writing emails or emails are coming in fast, you know, now AI is integrated into your Gmail and you literally can just see an email and dictate by voice exactly what it is that you want, and AI will take care of everything and respond to your emails. We have coming on board, and I think one thing that people don't realize is how fast that AI is getting better. Because every single day this month, and we're not even talking last year, every day this month there has been a new discovery with AI. There's been a new service or a new model that just continues to get better. So like one of the things that is happening that happened in January is the rollout of AI agents. And an AI agent is essentially a AI employee that can do work on its own. That is replacing a lot of jobs in other markets. So when that eventually makes their way to Trinidad, it's not that it can't be done right now. I could build an AI agent right now for a company. But what has to happen now is with all of these new technologies, it's going to change the people in your organization because the skill sets have to change. It's going to change your processes and how you do things. A lot of the processes right now are still very manual based. It's not far. I mean, we still can go into certain government institutions and they're still logging things with paper, right? If there is if anybody is doing anything with paper in Trinidad right now, that should be replaced, and it could be replaced, right? So it's impacting everything. I think what needs to catch up now is businesses need to realize, how can we transform our processes? How can we upskill our people so that, you know, if you were somebody who was, I don't know, maybe you were a secretary taking minutes in a meeting. We don't need those things anymore. We have all the tools and technology to not just take minutes, but email you a summary and actionable steps after the fact without even touching a button.
Interesting.
Right? So these are the things that have to evolve in Trinidad, and it starts with, again, it's going to be a top-down approach. The more businesses that start to now figure out how do we transform our people, processes, and technology, we're going to see a lot more AI integration really soon within TNT.
Mr. Rose, what industries in the Caribbean do you think are best positioned right now or ripe enough that they were able to benefit from AI and digital transformation?
Everything, every single thing. There's not one industry. There's not one industry, because even if I'll give you an example. Right? Here's a perfect example. So I'm in the gym, and what I do is every 2 weeks I'll do a drop-in with a personal trainer, right? But I have now created an AI personal trainer inside of ChatGPT that receives, it asks me all of my questions. It plans my workouts tailored to my lifestyle and what it is that I'm looking to do. If I need instructions on how to use a particular machine or whatever, I can take a picture inside of ChatGPT of that machine, and it tell me exactly what that machine is, what it targets, and how to utilize the machine, and will give me a link to watch a video on how to properly do it.
All right. So I actually wanted to quickly ask, what are any, how do businesses even get into e-commerce? Like, especially local businesses, what common mistakes do they usually make, and how can they rectify that?
I think the biggest mistake when it comes to e-commerce is people think that just because you have a website means people are going to buy. No. Just because you got a car doesn't mean you could drive. Doesn't mean you know where you're going, right? So people think that I paid a web developer. He has built the website. It can do e-commerce so people can purchase products or services on the website, and they think that just because they have it means people are going to come. They don't know that That's step one. And that getting a website's the easiest step now, right? Heck, we even have AI tools that can build websites from scratch. So getting a website's the easy part. The hard part, the real work starts the minute you get the website, because then you have to learn digital marketing. You have to learn how do we drive traffic back to the website? How do we get people to come to the website? How do we show up in things like Google? Now that everybody's using AI, AI doesn't create none of the information. It gets all of its information from the search engines like Google. And where does Google and these search engines get their information from? Us, the public. We are the ones creating websites and putting information on Google. AI is just finding the info, condensing it, summarizing it, and serving it to you on a platter. So it's still pulling the information from you. Businesses have to learn all the different ways to drive traffic back to the website. They need to learn what makes people buy online. And that's the biggest hurdle, because again, they think that just because they have it, that's it.
All right. What trends should our local businesses that are succeeding in the e-commerce space right now, what should they hop on or follow?
You need to think local, right? But you also need to be able to, your business needs to be global. So we keep on complaining that there's, people are struggling in TNT, there's not enough jobs, there's not enough money. Cool. But you have the global economy that you could be participating in, right? You're not limited to just clients in TNT. There are ways for you to generate sales from people around the world. Even if you have a physical business, like let's just say you're a mechanic, right? Yes. Obviously, cars would have to come into your workshop in order for you to provide a service and earn money. But is that mechanic learning the digital revenue streams that they could generate? For example, the only platform in the Caribbean that we are allowed to monetize with views is YouTube. A mechanic should absolutely have a YouTube channel talking about cars, talking about what goes on, things like that. Because anytime we have a problem, the first place we jump on is we go to Google, go to YouTube to watch something. A mechanic could have a YouTube channel, and that YouTube channel serves two functions. One, it helps them with bringing traffic, bringing people, bringing clients into the garage. And two, if your content is good, and we don't even need to have a whole lot of views, but if your content is good, you can get your YouTube channel to a point where it's monetized, and that can earn you a couple extra $100 US a month in revenue. That's just another income stream coming in. So businesses need to start paying attention to how do we participate in the global economy. And even if you have a physical service in TNT, there are still ways for you to generate money from people around the world. And that's what you have to learn to succeed moving forward.
Succeeding in the global marketplace. I really appreciate that. Mr. Rose, we would like to thank you for your contributions this morning. It was a lot. We loved learning from you. Loved learning from you.
Thank you. And thank you for having me again.
Of course.
We do hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I know you're going to the gym now, so I wish you a great gym session this afternoon, for you at least.
Thank you. Let me go and queue up my trainer on ChatGPT, and we're going to go and head out to the gym.
We love that. We love that.
All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have another great interview. We'll be right back.
treatment for obesity or any related abdominal procedures? The community hospital now offers minimally invasive laparoscopic surgery done by an American-trained, board-certified surgeon with over 20 years' experience. Give us a call at 235-5479 for more information.
The Community Hospital of Seventh-day Adventist,
where good private health care is affordable.
FanZone, your reliable, authentic supplier, has just gotten better. You can now visit our website www.fanzonett.com for your authentic wear and collectibles. The only place where you can use both your Visa debit and credit cards. Visit our website fanzonett.com to make your purchase today.
Welcome back to the program this morning. As we move along, we're talking a little bit about business. Success in business is often built on hard work, vision, and a strong support system. For Denise Ramdan, being part of a family-run organization has shaped her journey as an entrepreneur, from growing up in a business-driven household to helping expand a group of companies that spans out auto services, real estate, and now a thriving event venue. As the Ramdan family continues to make its mark on multiple industries, Denise plays a key role in ensuring their legacy grows while also adopting new challenges. Today we sit down with her to talk about navigating family business dynamics, lessons learned from entrepreneurship, and the journey to building success across generations. Good morning, Ms. Ramdan, and thank you so much for joining us.
Good morning. It's my pleasure to be here.
Lovely. So growing up in a business-oriented family, what was your first introduction to entrepreneurship?
So basically, as long as I've known myself, business has been something that we would chat about on the dinner table. I grew up with it all around me. So the mindset has always been extremely business oriented, and so much more than that, because it's not just business, but growing up in a family who are entrepreneurs, who focus on business, you always look at solutions. So I grew up in a family that focused on solution-based thinking, a mindset of success, a mindset that is of leadership quality. And, you know, I'm so fortunate because it's my mom and my dad. So my both parents are involved and were always involved in business. And I had the ability to grow up seeing a male and female figure take on the business world and always find solutions to the problem, think strategically.
Yeah.
So from very early, that was a part of my life, from the time I was born, basically.
Yes. What lessons or values did you learn specifically from your parents? I mean, they would have created the auto services company, which is D&D Auto World, right? What would you have learned from them?
So I'll be very honest. Before D&D Auto World, my parents did have other businesses, and those would have been the stepping stones towards D&D Auto World. What I would have learned mainly is the fact that your core values and your family values, how you're brought up in terms of, I would say, and I'm basing this on my family, religion, closeness to family, that is very important in a family business, because your family business is just as strong as your family. And that is something my parents instilled in my brother and I from very, very young, having that feeling of togetherness, closeness, loyalty, commitment to each other, to our family, and always doing everything in our power to ensure that we make each other better, we encourage each other. But I would say that God and religion, regardless of which religion it could be, is very important when it comes to family life, and especially when it comes to business life. So that is one of the most important things they would have taught us.
All right. Ms. Ramdan, as a woman in business, I find it so important to see women celebrate their wins, celebrate their successes. Do you have any big wins, anything that you'd like to share that may inspire other young women coming up in business?
Yes, of course. So while I was always in business, I did focus academically on business. So my background is economics. I have an MBA with a specialization in entrepreneurship and innovation. And why I'm telling you this is because this story goes to I started my doctoral program with my specialization being family business. And when I started that program, my lecturer would have told me one thing that really resonated with me. He's like, you're going to be a young woman, a woman in boardrooms in front of powerful people, and you have to have more knowledge and be an expert and understand and know the criteria more than everybody in the room, because you're already going to be judged by being a woman and being young. And that statement has kept me going, and it encouraged me to now read more, understand more, know more, be more. And I think it's very important for women to know that there's no limitation to where you can reach. You just have to have the mind power and the ability to do it, and always have the knowledge.
So, I mean, your family's companies, they're so different. I mean, they're from auto services to real estate now. Can you just like get in a little bit and talk to us about that transition and what would have driven the decision to go from cars to now events, properties, houses, and even events,
Yes. So I think with all businesses, they're similar in certain ways and they're different in other ways. Initially, with the automotive industry, my dad always had a passion, for cars, parts, repairing, all of these things. And that passion now transferred into him having a successful business, which my mom and him did together. Now it's been like almost 40 years they've been doing this together. And from the auto services, other than having the passion for auto services, we saw that there was a need to diversify. Because of course, there are certain challenges in the economy with regards to foreign exchange. So we saw the need to diversify our group of companies. And the real estate market has been something that we've been passionate about for a very long time. My brother spearheads the real estate division of the companies, and he has great knowledge. Him and my dad work alongside each other to ensure that all is done up to standard, proper specs, and all of that. But why I'm saying this is because there was a need for diversification. There's also a need for housing in our country. So we saw the opportunity to go to that type of business. And in terms of the venue rental, it was something that we've been thinking about since pre-COVID, and then COVID happened. So we kind of paused for a bit. But then I decided to get married in 2023, and the opportunity came again. So we decided to venture on to create this event space that we loved, and of course that people would love, because with all the businesses that we do, automotive, real estate, and even the venue rental, it's about serving people and providing that need. Because as I said, in the article last week, Trinidad and Tobago, they deserve the best. They deserve the best when it comes to customer service in the automotive industry, when it comes to having the ideal home, the most beautiful home to live in. And again, with the venue rental, having that space that is perfect for them. So everything that we do as a family business, we do it as if it's for us, because at the end of the day, your client, your customer is extremely important, and how you treat people is very important. And business is not just for today. You're building a legacy, and it's a legacy that we want to continue building.
All right. That's such a great answer. So how would you say that you avoid burnout? Because when we were talking before we even came on camera, you said that you had a very busy morning, and I'm sure most of your days are like that. How do you avoid burnout? How do you stay going every single day?
So prayer and meditation is extremely important to me. So I always start my day with prayer. You know, you have to be grateful, thankful in life for all the opportunities that you have and you're given. And this year, 2025, I've been focusing more and more on one task at a time. So I always tell my staff, you deal with each client as if that's your only client that you're seeing for the entire day. So I'm also telling myself, I deal with each task like it's my only task I'm dealing for with the day. So when you do that now, you focus all that energy on that one thing. I don't know if you've all read the book, The One Thing. You focus on one thing, you do it to the best of your ability, and you move on. And I think it's extremely important to always have a checklist to write down, you know, what you need to get done. And you just kind of itemize, you know, I spend 5 minutes of my day on this, 10 minutes on this, an hour on this. But also balance in your life is extremely important. So even though myself, my family, we love business, we love being a part of what we're doing, it's also extremely important to have that downtime with family. I have a son, he's 7 years old. I make sure to spend that time with him because at the end of the day, what are you working so hard for? To have peace of mind, to have happiness, to enjoy your family. And so balance is extremely important.
So about your son, is he showing any business acumen or some kind of affiliation for the business world?
So just as when I was growing up, my parents would have taught me so much and still teach me, you know, every day. I learn from them so much. My son, I can see certain qualities and characteristics in him that I love. And that is because like he has a leadership style already at the age of 7. And I think as parents, it's extremely important to encourage that, you know, because, you know, I think the past generation, even my generation, we grew up, you know, quiet. You don't want to oversee anything. But I think that children have the opportunity now to have an opinion, a respectable one, of course. But it's good to encourage that, and I try to encourage that with him. So even in academics, extra activities, I encourage him to pursue. And I think that as parents, that is our duty to support our children and then hope that they make the best decisions based on the values that we instill in them.
Yeah. So many people dream of running their own business or starting up their own business. And some struggle to even get started. So what advice would you give to people wanting to start, especially young women?
My advice would be, you know, as I said previously, have the knowledge. Reading is extremely important. You know, have that knowledge, learn. We're learning every day. Once you have a passion for something, I always say in business, you must be passionate about what you do, or in life, you must have that passion. So I would say, if you have a particular type of industry that you want to enter, you need to learn, understand, have mentors, learn from those around you, read, make sure that you have everything you need to go forward. Now, you can have knowledge, but also having the financial ability to open your own business or do your own business is extremely important as well. But what I can tell you is, if you start small and start with baby steps, and I can tell you my parents started off small. It was never like what it is today. They would have started off selling one car at a time.
Yes.
And that's the thing, you just have to do it and not get disenchanted, because every moment that you think it's a struggle, it's really not a struggle. It's an opportunity for you to see, what is my learning from this? What is the solution to this problem? So I think once you keep that positive mindset, everything can fall in place.
All right. So being in business requires a certain level of fierceness, if you will. So how would you say you manage being a woman in business, being, you know, the expectations to be demure, to be, you know, a bit feminine? How do you manage that expectation, if you even see it as something to be managed?
You know, I understand what you're saying, because, you know, society has always encouraged women to be, you know, let's say, for lack of a better word, quiet, more demure,
yes,
well put together. And yes, it is extremely important that we do carry about ourselves in a particular manner as all persons. I can tell you, based on me, it's not a struggle, but you have to be mindful as a woman that society may sometimes say that you are aggressive because, of course, you may use a particular tone or you may have a certain form of assertiveness towards a situation. But I believe that in business or in any type of leadership role, women are able to balance. So I think I won't say I have to assertiveness or being, for lack of a better word again, controlling. But as a woman, I have the ability, and we have the ability as women, to also have compassion, to be considerate, to be that person who is strong and also very compassionate of others. So I think with women in leadership roles and in business, we have the greatest opportunity to balance it off and have that perfect mixture and blend of both ways, of being a woman and also having that leadership way as well.
That's a perfect answer. So we want to come and like wrap up, sort of. But what would you say are your long-term goals for your businesses, like in the next 15, 20 years? When you become possibly a grandmother, where do you hope to see your businesses?
So from early on, my entire plan, our family's plan, was always to build that legacy. You know, my dad started off in business. My mom joined him, and I've always seen, my brother and I have always seen how hard they work towards accomplishing their goals. And I believe that our intention is to carry on the businesses, to grow, to diversify into more industries, and also to ensure that the legacy continues. Because I don't know, most family businesses, the first generation creates and the second generation sometimes destroys, and it's up to the third generation to start back up again. But we are changing that now because we are the second generation. So we have the ability to change that whole mindset and to encourage growth. So years from now, decades from now, I want to know that what my dad and mom started, that it's continued, that legacy continues on. And it's not just about business, but it's also about knowing that we could do it, we can do it, and we're going to do it.
It's beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, we thank you so much for coming in. If you have any last words, anything you'd like to share with the viewership, you can go ahead and do so right now.
Sure. Well, thank you very much for having me. 2025 is about mentoring, encouraging others around you. And I want to tell you, if you have knowledge, if there's something that you can share with someone to make someone even better, always do it. Always take the opportunity. And whenever an opportunity arises, seize the day and get it done. So thank you for having me. It's been my pleasure being on, and all the best to you guys.
Yes, thanks so much,
Thank you so much, Ms. Ramdan.
You have a beautiful day.
Thank you. You as well.
All right. So that was Denise Ramdan. We really learned a lot from her, and just talking about females and women entrepreneurship. It is something that we can definitely have more open conversations about. Yeah, wouldn't you say so?
Yeah, for sure. I really enjoy that, especially her coming on as a woman in business. It's not rare to see, but seeing somebody so open to mentoring, open to just sharing about her life and where she wants to go, having that clear vision, that was really inspirational.
Yeah, so just to wrap up this morning, our first interview, we had Ms. Terry-Ann Baker, and she spoke to us about, we are youth, and just the importance of youth involvement in the democratic process. I think what I wanted to say initially, we are privileged enough to have a say in the democratic process, to have a say in who leads our country, where our future might go. And it's so important for us to understand that. So Ms. Baker, she highlighted a lot of the points that I think we lack we don't necessarily understand, you know, so that was very enlightening this morning.
Yeah, something she said was young people represent the majority of the working class. So we have to elect into office persons that work in our favor, because not only are we the future that's going to be mostly impacted, we are right now the working class. We are right now who is going to be wholly affected. So I do think it's really important that we listen to what you said about the different ways in which we can get involved in governance. What you touched on is reaching out to the local MPs. She said something about the joint select committees, writing to them and telling them to take a look at certain issues in your community.
There are multiple ways that we can be a part of that democratic process, that we can get involved in the politics and get involved in the decision making and have a voice, because as we deserve to, well, we do have a voice, you know, and I think we have to take advantage of that.
We owe it to ourselves to use it. And the follow-up conversation with Mr. Rose. I enjoyed that interview.
I know.
I
so
enjoy that.
Jada loves talking about anything AI, and I think anything
Very
digital.
much so.
So that definitely was an insightful conversation. And you know, going further, I think we can definitely have Mr. Rose back on the program, and we can talk a little bit about monetizing businesses, your business, small businesses, monetizing and creating opportunities online for businesses. I think that's a conversation that we can have, and we can speak a lot on.
Something you said about YouTube being the only thing that we can really take advantage of. Right now, we don't see as much of a push as I would like to see. I don't think because a lot of people know that you can monetize on YouTube.
I wouldn't say they don't know. I think Trinidadians, we are not as open to it as other countries are, just because making money on Instagram is consistent videos, consistent vlogging. You know, I think it's a bit the culture. Our culture is a little different, but I think with more education on how easy it can be, you know, and just to be a passive income.
I think that's something a lot of people might want to look into. I would love to see a push more of Trinidadian YouTubers, a whole YouTube core, Trini core on YouTube. I would love to see that.
That would be really cool. So I think we will have Mr. Rose back on at some point in the future to have these conversations. This was a great show. I thank you, viewers, for joining us this morning, and we do hope you have a great day. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Bye-bye.
WESN